Assalamu alaikum students. Welcome to yet another lecture of our CSS English essay lecture series. Today we are going to discuss a sample outline of a proverbial or a literary essay. This lecture is essentially a continuation of our previous lecture, which was about how do we decode a proverbial or a literary essay. We basically discussed in the previous lecture that literary and proverbial essays can be somewhat tricky. There are various allegories, there are various trick words used which denote something else in the real world. Okay, so we learned that how we can effectively decode such essays before we go on attempting them. So in this lecture, we'll be discussing a sample outline of a proverbial essay. Now, this lecture is very, very important because students, they often ask that they want to attempt such sort of essay, but they don't know. They don't know once even they understand once they have understood the essay, the literary phrase or a proverb, that what does it mean, they don't know how to proceed, what to write in such an essay. I mean, how to come up with ideas that can make up 2500 words. So this lecture is to address those questions, that what content you will be putting in a proverbial or a literary essay, while at the same time, remember, being relevant to the topic statement, being relevant to the thesis statement. That is very important, because you don't have to just write 2500 words. What you have to write is relevant to the thesis statement. So moving on, we will be continuing with the same topic we discussed in the previous lecture, so that the concepts are clear and we just look at one topic from a holistic approach. So as usual, the first heading should be of introduction, and beneath that you would be writing the thesis statement. Remember, I discussed that if you want to write the thesis statement, which you should be when you are to take a stance on a topic, it should be right below the introductory paragraph. And for this topic, Rome was not built in a day. The thesis statement is, if one is to achieve success and glory, then tenacity, perseverance, and consistent toil are a prerequisite. Now, how did we reach at this thesis statement? Well, you have to refer back to your previous lecture, but just to revise that, Rome stood for glory because it was a great city. Okay, so Rome stands for glorious success, and the later part of this proverb, not built in a day, means that success or glory can't be achieved overnight. You have to work hard for it. Okay, you have to put in a lot of consistent effort. Okay, not built in a day means that you have to work consistently. Consistency and perseverance are the keys. So we have decoded this proverb, and then we have written the thesis statement, that is, if one is to achieve success and glory, which was essentially depicting Rome, then tenacity, perseverance, and consistent toil are a prerequisite. These words, these last three adjectives, are basically denoting the later part of the proverb, that not built in a day. Okay, this. Now that we have written the thesis statement, we have understood the topic and we have written the thesis statement, that this is what we are going to write in our essay. This is how we have understood this topic. And but the question arises, student get confused, that what will we will be writing in this essay. Okay, we have understood the thesis statement, we have understood the topic, we have made the thesis statement. So here is an example that how you can construct such an essay. Now remember, this essay, this outline is just a blueprint. Okay, I mean, I'm not saying that one size fits all, but after you have gone through this outline, you will be in a very good position to attempt such essays once you have understood the topic. Okay, now you know that this is a sort of a structure of how to go about such essays. So the second heading which I have given is it true that greatness cannot be achieved overnight? And I have written, yes, I have agreed with the stance in the my thesis statement, which was reflecting the proverb. Okay, so of course I'll be writing the introductory paragraph, then I'll be writing another paragraph. Okay, that I will be giving an overview that if you want to achieve something, you have to work hard for it. If you want to pursue greatness or success, it can't be achieved overnight. So I will be once again vindicating my stance. But this, don't get confused, because this is just an additional line which I am discussing in my outline. You can even, if you can even skip this, okay, you can even write this in your thesis statement or in your introductory paragraph. This, so don't get confused at why I have written this paragraph. It is just to value, it's just for value addition, okay. That I'm once again telling the examiner, I will be giving him some examples that yes, glory can't be achieved overnight, or success or greatness can't be achieved overnight. Then I have went on relating the real life examples, that how success and glory, you know how hard work, persistent struggle are a prerequisite for success. So I have given elaborated by giving real life examples, and this is how I have built my essay, okay. I'll be writing 2500 words, remember, but all the real life examples which I will be giving must be relevant, and I'll be, remember, just keep in mind that I'm hitting the key words of my topic statement, and which are basically reflecting the topic. Persistent toil, the later part of the proverb. Greatness and success, the first, which denote Rome. So just keep in mind these blue words, because they are telling the examiner that I am writing relevant, okay. First they are telling the examiner that I am writing something relevant, and then of course I am also writing something relevant. So examples of personalities who achieved greatness and success after persistent toil. Now, in this in this in this heading, under this heading, you will only be writing those personalities. Remember, I am talking about, in this instance, personalities who have achieved greatness but after persistent toil. Here, if you write, let's suppose, quick success stories, like for example Mark Zuckerberg, okay, he had an idea and he went about it, and his success, it was a shot in the arm for him. He became a billionaire in a couple of years. So his example won't be pertinent here, okay. You can't just write about someone who achieved greatness and success. The limiting idea is someone who achieved it after perseverance, after much toil. So Abraham Lincoln is someone who comes to mind. He was a common poor man and he became the president of the US. Then of course Nelson Mandela comes to mind. He was the first black head of state in apartheid Africa, South Africa, sorry. And Barack Obama and other examples. Remember, this is just to illustrate that which examples you will be citing, which sort of examples you will be citing. I mean, you can completely write three different names, or you can write five names, okay. It all depends on you. But remember this technique I have used. I have written a colon, and then I have given a phrase, a short and terse phrase, which basically once again explains that why I am discussing these personalities. I mean, you could even write books about these personalities, but the reason why I have chosen these examples, I have to tell the examiner that why I have chosen. Remember the words which are underlined, that he became president from a common man. So he must have put in some very hard work, toil. Okay. Nelson Mandela, first of his kind, first black president in apartheid South Africa. Similarly, you can write a one liner, a phrase about Barack Obama or other personalities. But remember, if you don't have adequate vocabulary, okay, and if you're not able to write a phrase, or if you're not able to summarize the personalities in one phrase, and you just start you can't summarize his achievements in one phrase, and you are forced to write 2 to 3 lines to discuss him, then avoid it, okay. Just write the names, because that would make your outline too much long, okay, and that is not preferable, okay. Your outline shouldn't be like in 2 to 3 sentences, 1 point. No, if you have adequate vocabulary to summarize that, what are their main niche which I'm mentioning it in this topic, only then write it, if you're able to summarize them. I hope I have made myself clear. Moving on. So first wrote the introduction, then I once again hit the thesis statement, that is it true. Then I gave examples of great personalities, real life example of great personalities. Then of course, I have to elaborate on it, because I have to prove my point, okay, that yes, success can't be achieved overnight. And how do I prove it? By giving examples from real life, okay. So then I'll be giving examples from of great businessmen who achieved greatness and success after persistent toil. Remember that the keywords blue, I'm consistently mentioning them, okay. I can use different words, I can use their synonyms, but I must be using them throughout my outline, just to just to convey the feeling to the examiner that this candidate is writing relevant and to the point. Now I have given examples of Bill Gates, that his example, he Microsoft, his company, he was a success story after repeated failures. Similarly, Jack Ma, Chinese businessman, the founder of Alibaba, he was also a success story after much struggle and failures, okay. So you can similarly cite other businessmen. Okay, so remember how I have brainstormed the ideas about about different examples from real life, so that I can write a beautiful essay on it. And see how I have bifurcated the examples under different headings. Like in the previous example, I talked about political personalities. Now I'm talking about businessmen. Now students might lump all these under one categories. Okay, like business, like personal examples, and I will talk about other examples from nations. But I have used a different technique. Okay, that is how I have went about it. But you can of course use the previous technique, that is lumping all the personalities in the same main heading, and that won't be wrong. But just I just did it just to make my presentation clearer. Then I can talk about men of religion, like we can talk about Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. We know that he suffered a lot. Okay, he made a lot of struggle, and then of course he succeeded in spreading his message. Then we can talk about Sufis and Imams. Remember, the compilers of Hadith. They spent all of their lives traveling various parts in search of authentic Hadith. So they of course they achieved great success. They in their relevant fields, but they also did it after persistent toil. Okay, so here I'm talking about men of religion. Then I can cite some other examples, and it's up to you. The personalities, whichever personalities are coming to your mind. But remember, they must meet two criteria. They must have achieved some great success or greatness after persistent toil. This is very important. Okay, if you keep in mind this limiting factor only, then it will convey to the examiner that you have properly understood the topic. Then I'll be elaborating or giving examples of some nations which achieved greatness and success after persistent effort. Okay, now I have gone on to talking about nations. Okay, and remember, I'm just discussing these examples to prove my point. Okay, that success can't be achieved overnight. Now, here, number one, technological revolution in Japan after World War II. Here, once again, remember, I'm mentioning the countries, but there is a tendency among students just to write the name of the country, like Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, China. But you have to give one liner, that why are you writing the examples of these countries, and why writing these examples in the outline serve the purpose of proving your point. Okay, so I have given one liners: technological revolution in Japan after World War II. We know that Japan was completely destroyed after World War II, but within 20 years they just restored their economic might through technological revolution. Then educational revolution, South Korea is a case in point. You can study it and write at least one paragraph on it. Then the success story of Malaysia can't be ignored in development and economics under the leadership of Mahathir Mohamad. Rise of China as an economic giant, everybody knows it. You can cite other examples of different nations, provided you give a one liner, that why you are mentioning these countries or nations in the outline. But once again, if you are having difficulty summarizing this in one liner, okay, the that why are you writing the countries, you don't have enough vocabulary, then it's better to ignore it if you can't summarize it in one line. Of course, it can take, sometimes it can take two lines, but you shouldn't be writing 3 to 4 lines just for one example. That would make your outline very lengthy, and the end result would be that you would be repeating all of the sentences which you have written in the outline. So that's why I say that making the thesis statement, before writing a full essay, a student need to have three things on his fingertips. He should have, the techniques to write an effective thesis statement. He should know how to write an outline, proper outline, because once you have practiced making an outline and you know how to craft an outline, which will ease the rest of the process for you, which will make it easier for you to write an essay of 2500 words, then your job is, I would say, 60 to 70% done. Okay, then you need to write introductory paragraphs on essays. Then, in CSS you don't have enough time to write too many essays. Of course you do if you have time, then it's good. I mean, you should be practicing as much as you can. So I diverted from the topic. Let's move on. So after talking about nations, I came to international community, that examples of international community which achieved many milestones. We remember milestones: Rome, after persistent efforts, once again, not built in a day. I have cited the example of women empowerment around the world, after much debate around the world and, different efforts by the international community, the rights of women are finally being discussed, and women have been empowered in various countries throughout the world. So the international community has achieved much on this front. Secondly, near eradication of polio. Of course, polio has been eradicated throughout the world except two countries, Pakistan and Afghanistan. Probably Nigeria is also there. But of course, this was a disease which was very much prevalent throughout the world. But through proper vaccination and worldwide campaigns, the international community has managed to contain this and almost eradicate this disease. End of colonialism. You know that after World War II, led by America, the anti-colonialism movement was in vogue. I mean, the whole international community supported it. You can talk, I mean, you can just say that, the US had its own vested interest, but you are here proving your points. Okay, you're not discussing the conspiracy theories. So of course the world achieved end of colonialism after World War II. So these are just examples. You can cite various other things. You can even jump out of these main headings. You can write something else. I'm just giving you a sample outline, so to speak, a specimen that how you can expand on such literary and proverbial essays. Moving on, I have given a separate heading, that why some people achieve greatness without much effort. Okay, so once again, I'll be strengthening my stance once again by giving counter arguments. Okay, I hope you have watched the lecture regarding counter arguments, that how do we write them. But if you are confused, then don't even bother about counter arguments. Just read this line, read this main bullet point: why some people achieve greatness without much effort. Now I am convincing the examiner from the other point, that okay, some people do achieve greatness without much effort. Okay, their greatness is not their greatness is actually achieved in a day, I mean, in a very short period of time. But why? It could be the hard work and efforts of someone else. Okay, so once again I'm vindicating my stance, that someone else might have put in a lot of effort. They might have worked very hard over a long period of time, and then someone else might be taking their credit. Then success taken at face value, like history is the best judge of greatness and success, like Hitler. I mean, we can say that he achieved greatness and success and glory, but his success was short lived, so to speak. His fame or his greatness, I mean, history judged him in tainted colors. Okay, history didn't judge him in history didn't paint him in roses. Okay, so once again I have produced counter arguments to further strengthen my stance. Why sometimes effort and hard work don't result in success and glory. So here I have mentioned that okay, success and hard work, people do work hard, but they don't achieve success. Why? Because of these factors. Now I'm once again presenting some counter arguments that support my thesis, that why despite working hard some people don't achieve success and glory. And this is wrong direction, insufficient efforts, and lack of motivation. So if people do work in the right direction, and if they put in the sufficient efforts, and do it through motivation, then there is no doubt that they are going to achieve success and glory. Okay, so I have presented these counter arguments. Of course, if you feel that this is a dangerous area, I mean, you might get yourself trapped, or you might just be nullifying your own stance. I mean, if this if this seems tricky to you, then you can avoid counter arguments. Okay, then just go on, I mean, proving your stance without writing counter arguments. But this is just to show you that how things are done. Okay, then in the end, I have given a heading that what lessons should be learned from this proverb: Rome was not built in a day. Now you can talk about lessons at individual level, lessons at national level, you know, lessons at international level. At individual level, you can say that whenever someone has worked hard, there are ample examples in the history that he has achieved success and glory. And you can, at the national level, you can say that countries who have done, who have achieved something, who achieved greatness, success, be it at the economic, social, or whatever indicators, they have worked hard. Okay, so you can quote Pakistan even here, that if Pakistan does the same, there is no doubt that Pakistan is also going to achieve something. It is going to achieve an international standing in the Committee of Nations. And at the international level also, you can say that if the world, if the international community keeps working on different goals, like, you can say, denuclearization and any other major issues, then there is no doubt that the international community can achieve these goals, because we have sufficient examples from the past. Okay, and then I'll be concluding my essay. So this was a sample as to how to go about approaching proverbial or literary essays. Remember, once again, one size doesn't fit all. Okay, this was just a specimen, because students were almost clueless that what to write in such essays. I mean, there was a temptation, among many students, to write such an essay, because of course they understood these proverbs and literary topics on the face of it, but they didn't know what to put in these topics to write 2500 words. So I'm sure that this essay will help you a great deal in understanding that how to go about, I mean, what to write in such sort of essays to prove your stance, to vindicate your stance. Now, things that make your proverbial or literary essays great: quotations of related proverbs and famous literary excerpts. Once again, the word related, very important. Don't just quote anything which comes to your mind. That will harm you more than any good. Okay, only quote if it's related. Related examples from real life. Of course, you can't write an essay without these. Solid counter arguments. Once again, optional, because it depends on your level of proficiency. Okay, if you think that you are your best judge, so if you think that you can present counter arguments, then go ahead. If you think you can't, then avoid it. So that is it for today. I hope this lecture was useful. I'll be making outlines and writing thesis statements of other topics also, so that you get sensitized that how to achieve how to attempt different topics. But for today, that's it. I hope you enjoyed and learned a lot from it. Allah Hafiz.